review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's a breast cancer survivor and advocate, podcast host, and the author of the journal Breast Cancer Journal, no other than Miss Grace De Angeli.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Grace, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I currently and always lived in Melbourne, Australia. In 2018, this is how it all started. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that led me on to to the journey of actually healing myself holistically. So I always say disclaimer, it's my journey, but that's where everything started. I was someone who was going through a routine test every year because my mum had breast cancer. And like I said, in 2018, myself, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that's basically where my journey started, really to start healing myself, what I call from the inside out. So that's where we got started, I guess, on this part of my life, and it's and now that's something that I continue to advocate, like, is healing yourself from the inside out, no matter what part of your life it is, whether it is breast cancer or whether you're going through a trauma or whatever it is. It's about healing yourself from the inside out. But in my case, that's where we begin, I guess. I come from a background of Italian parents, and very strict background. My father would beat me until the age of 29. So that's where my trauma came in. I was also contemplating suicide at the age of 21. So I was carrying a lot of what I call, baggage, a lot of, trauma. So when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was surprised, of course, but I wasn't surprised because of the way my life was not being consistent to who I am. So yeah, so that's where we got started, and I went on a holistic path. Like I said, disclaimer: I didn't do any chemo or radiation. I opted to go around the world and do things differently, I guess, and that's things like going to Peru and doing plant medicine work with shamans, going to Bali, doing Ayurveda, doing Vipassana, doing whatever it took to heal myself because I needed to get rid of all the traumas. So that's where I guess I thought, well, look, I'm doing a lot of things for myself, but a lot of people, I guess, um, they come to me now. I see it when they come to me now and say, well, how did you get started? How did you get started with this book? And I'm not sure if I'm jumping ahead or you want me to get into how I got started writing my journal and what made me write my journal.
Yes,
Yeah.
Miss Grace De Angeli, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world as well as your podcast and being survivor, a cancer advocate. So tell us, how did you create your journal, Breast Cancer?
Absolutely. So when I was going, I always say this, this is a true story. When I got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was carrying books about breast cancer. I was carrying books about how to heal myself, on a physical, emotional, psychological. I was carrying books on self-help. I was carrying books on mandalas because it'll help me stay in the present moment and not get overwhelmed when I was doing tests and so forth. But because I was carrying a book, I was carrying actually a backpack full of books. And I thought, I can't be carrying around, you know, almost seven books, and that's where it all began. Where what I did was I actually, and you have it on the screen, but I actually put everything in the one book. So it's anything from basically what is breast cancer, what are the scans, questions to ask your doctor. Now, these questions are important because when we're first diagnosed with breast cancer, we get overwhelmed and we don't know the right questions to ask. So, there's about 20 questions to ask me and my own breast cancer surgeon. We put these questions together, and any surgeon can answer those questions and much more that you might have. So that's in the journal. It's also things on self-help, how to detox, how to when I say detox, a lot of people think, oh, detox, eating your green juice, but it's really getting rid of things that no longer serve you, and things like forgiveness. It's a big thing when you get diagnosed and you're carrying some traumas, to forgive yourself as well as to forgive others. But it's how to live your authentic self. So these were all little things that I was carrying books on all of this, and what I did was I created my own. So it comes in either in Amazon, as you can see, comes with the hard cover. They, because I normally have it in spiral as well, and it's easy to fill out. There's daily journals and everything in there, so there's so much more that you can use. I still, to this day, this is a brand new one, but to this day I still go and get checked. I'm 7 years cancer free, but I still go to my appointments and I still carry my journal with me, because there might be parts of there that I didn't actually need at the time, but I need now. It's things about self reflection. What it is, it's you are diagnosed with breast cancer, but I want you to be one step ahead of it. Don't let cancer define you. Be one step ahead. And by having this journal with you, it actually helps you, like I say all the time, it makes you bring your breast cancer like a handbag. You're running the show. You're in control. And the more you're aware of what's going on around you, the better it is that you understand your breast cancer journey and you're not overwhelmed, because it is something that people get overwhelmed with. Being diagnosed, being said you have cancer, you feel like you're in a bubble. But the moment you can step back, take a bigger picture, be in control, you actually make better decisions about your recovery, about your treatments, about your operations, things like that. So that's why it's all in here. It's really important to ask those questions to your doctor, especially about your options of operations, and what is the type of cancer you have, so you can better understand it. But it's more like something that you can carry with you. It's a daily planner, it's a daily journal. You can write all your appointments in there, you can write what you're feeling. As I said, you've got mandalas in there as well, so if you want to just feel like in a quiet space while you're waiting for your results or going for your scans. It's all in the one book instead of carrying 7 or 8 books like I did. So that is why I created the Breast Cancer Heroes Journey Journal. So, yeah.
Miss Grace, who is the journal designed for?
Sure. So this particular journal is designed for anyone, or well, any woman just diagnosed with breast cancer. But it doesn't mean you can't use it if you already have breast cancer, because as I said, there are sections in there that you can use throughout your journey, no matter where you are, whether you're in the beginning, the middle, or the end of it. It's really about healing your psychological side, your emotional side, and your spiritual side, because the physical side is getting looked after with your doctors, but it's you come out of there and you're thinking, what do I do with all these emotions that I'm feeling? So it's for anyone, or any woman, I should say, just diagnosed with breast cancer or going through their breast cancer journey.
What types of prompts or exercise help patients process emotions and challenges?
Well, some of them that I have is like the detox section in there. And that's basically about detoxing your surrounding. And what I mean by that is I don't, encourage people to go to friends and family and say, I no longer want you in my life, get out. You could do it in a nice way. You could spend less time with them. So it's things like that, spending more time with yourself. Detox your surrounding. If you live in a home that's clustered or your room that's clustered, detox that, because it actually helps detox the mind and clear the mind. So there's things like that for you to do where, like I said before, the more you're in control of your journey, the better it is. So there's things like that in there. There's also parts in there how to be your authentic self. Now, a lot of people think, what does that mean? For me, breast cancer was a wake up call. It was, life saying you're not consistent to who you really are on the inside. So I had to learn to start loving me. I had to learn how to love Grace. So there's parts in the book how to do that. It's very hard to look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself, but the process of doing that is so empowering. It's something that starts from the inside. So you feel more confident about your journey. You feel more in control about your journey. Your mind is at a clearer state. So there's things like that in there. Also, like I mentioned about forgiveness. If there's someone you need to forgive, you need to forgive yourself. There's a process that you can do to do that. And these are little daily steps. They're not things that take years or months. They're little tiny changes. I always say that they're small, tiny changes for you to better understand where you are in your journey.
Miss Grace, how do you balance practical advice with emotional healing in the journal?
Well, because it's got the part of both. I talk about, what is breast cancer? What are the scans you've got to get? What are the questions? These things here can make you feel overwhelmed. But having the other side where you can write in the journal, you can write your daily planner. It's anything about your appointments to catching up with friends. I also have a section there of some breaks you can do. Go for walks. Dance, if there was something that you've always wanted to do in your life, do it. Like if you wanted to paint, paint. So it balances how you can then be. When we're doing something that's purposeful, we feel better about ourselves. We actually really feel good about ourselves. We feel like I'm achieving something right now. So it's balancing that with, so you can bring your emotions to check. So every time your monkey mind or your mind starts talking, because we always say we would never be best friends with our mind, when that starts to chatter, we always say, I know where you're coming from. Close that down. I know where you're coming. It's like watching it. I know what you're about to say. But if you're doing something that's purposeful or something you love to do, that hardly comes around. It's when we sit and our mind just thinks and thinks and thinks. It doesn't mean you shouldn't sit with it. Of course you should. But make sure it's productive when you sit with yourself. And in a sense, what I mean by productive is, where is this leading me? Is this leading me down the rabbit hole? Or is this leading me to better understand myself and my breast cancer diagnosis? If it's leading you to better understand yourself and your diagnosis, that's a great start, because, like I said, you're watching a movie, you're not judging it. Whereas if you go down that rabbit hole, then that's when we start feeling depressed, and we close ourselves off, and it gets harder to beat or to go through the journey of cancer.
Miss Angeli, can you describe the structure of the journal? How it guides users?
Well, basically, what you have is you have your front page, your index, and from there you can actually, you don't have to do it by page by page. You can skip wherever you want to go. So it's a book where if you feel like journaling, you journal. If you feel like writing in, dates, important dates coming up, you can do that. If you feel like doodling, I've even got a section where if you ever wanted to do, to do a tattoo, I've got a section in there where you can draw your own tattoo, even. It doesn't mean you have to do it on your body, but you've got areas so you can mix and match wherever you like. It's just paged, is everything is paged and indexed, and you don't have to go through it step by step, every page one after the other. Things about taking a break, you can do that. You know what, I want to know about taking a break. You can go to that page, you can mark it, things like that. Or things I have as well is like things about start living. When people say, what do you mean by start living? We don't start living. We need to get a diagnosis to start living. So start living. Do little goals, small goals, daily goals. If it means getting up out of bed and taking a shower, and opening those curtains, to weekly goals, going for a walk, catching up with friends, to monthly goals, maybe going and seeing that theatre play you've always loved, to yearly goals, maybe you want to plan a holiday with friends or family, things like that. So you could skip to that part and then you can always go back to it later. So that's how I structured it, that the index will give you to that page, but then you can go to any page. Like I said, you don't have to go from start to end.
Very well said, Miss Grace, and inspiring as well.
Thank you.
What was the most meaningful part of creating this resource for others?
Like I said, the most meaningful part was the fact that out there, I know that, hosting my own breast cancer podcast, and I speak to a lot of women who have gone through breast cancer. I noticed that the part of the physical side is looked after. You have the best team, your best oncologist, surgeon, things like that. But the emotional, the psychological, and the spiritual side is not looked into. And I always say it's like a putting everything in a locker while you're going through the physical side. And then your doctors say, right, we're good to go. You can go home now and continue your life. And you take everything out of your locker, which is all your emotions, or everything that's going on, and you say, well, what do I do with this? And that's why it was really important for me to create this, because it's about healing the psychological, the emotional, and the spiritual side of yourself. Because I believe when you start healing the mind and the body, the soul, sorry, you can heal the body. If that's not aligned, the body heals itself for a while, but you're still out of line. So that is why I wanted to create something where someone had access to something and say, well, you know what, I'm going to start using this, and I'm going to better myself, as because we don't know. Even when I went through my breast cancer journey, I didn't know if I was going to survive or not. But one thing I knew is I had to keep living no matter what. So that's why I want to encourage women to have something to help them through that journey on their spiritual, psychological, and emotional side.
Yes, people, help yourself and help asking for help if you need help, because it's
Absolutely.
crucial for asking for help. How can caregivers or loved ones use this journal to support patients?
Yeah, sure. So what they could do is, I always say, and it's in the journal itself, is create a dream team. I had a dream team. So I had 5 people in my dream team, and these people were there to help me on anything that was medical, anything that was emotional, anything that to do with holistic ways of healing and things like that. So giving it to your caregivers or someone who can help you, someone in your dream team, especially the part where it's about what type of cancer you have, what's the treatment you believe you can do, and things like that. They get to better understand yourself, but also looking through it, they can help you. They can help you, start living. They can help you practice meditation. They can start helping you do things from the journal, and being there of support. So if you need something, if it says take a break, and it's like, okay, I need to go and I really want to go and lay in a beautiful spa. They can help you say, right, I'll find out where there's a closer spa for you, and we can do things like that. Also, finding things like, looking through the journal itself, you can look at things like, okay, hyperbaric oxygen chamber is fantastic for those going through any type of illness. It really does help the body. But the caregiver can look at that and say, well, I'm going to look that up where somewhere it's close for you. So I can drive you there and you can go and do that treatment and then I can bring you home. But it also helps them understand about what breast cancer is, what a diagnosis is, and what does it mean for a breast cancer, someone who's being diagnosed with breast cancer, gets them to better understand them and help them become the best version of themselves.
Yes, indeed. Miss Grace, as a breast cancer survivor and advocate, a podcast host, as well as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short term goals is now I've actually created a cancer book. It's a journal. It's a hero's journey journal for cancer patients, because what was happening is I was receiving a lot of people saying, but I don't have breast cancer. Can I still use it? Well, technically, yes. The only thing I sort of changed up is this is what breast cancer is. This is what cancer is. So it's everything is the same. So if you could have used it for any type of cancer. So that was what something that I've done. So I've created that. But my long-term goal is to keep being part of what I call people's dream team, women's dream team, where I help them with appointments. I go to appointments with the patient. What I mean by that is I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and people think, well, how are you going to come to my appointment? A lot of people have me on voice. They call me up. I put myself on mute. All I'm doing is listening in and writing down, because some patients don't want family or friends to know that they have breast cancer. So what they do is they bring me in on a phone call so I can hear what the doctor says, write down what the doctor is saying to them. So when they're in a clear mind, I can get them to better understand what the doctor is saying. So I guess I'm calling myself a mentor, but not really a mentor. I prefer myself as part of the dream team. So my goal is to be there for any woman who needs help, whether it is to find other alternatives. If you're doing chemo radiation, but you want to find other alternatives to help heal yourself quicker, that's when I can come in. I look at places around your area. You wherever you live in California, you live in Dallas, wherever you are, you live in India. I will look at a place close by that has things like red light saunas or the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, or even things like meditation centers. Because a lot of people, I have a patient now who just wants to sit with herself for about 4 days. She's still doing chemo and things like that, but just wants to sit back. I would help that person find those things. So that's what I'm doing long term. So I want to be there for anyone who's going through cancer who needs someone in their dream team.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Grace. And what's your advice for someone struggling to stay positive during treatment?
Sure. So the one thing that I got told that I use every day, pretty much, if it needs to arise, is never make a decision based on fear. And sometimes being diagnosed, sometimes a treatment, well, the way the treatment's going, you can get overwhelmed and you'll get the doctors coming in asking you all of these things. Just sit back for a moment, and really look at it. So don't make decisions based on fear. And the other thing is that I always say to people is don't wait to start living your authentic self. The world needs you as you and no one else. So start really, truly living who you were meant to be. So they're my two. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for your advice, Miss Grace, and hoping people will follow it and to be in power. Before we wrap up our discussion today, Miss Grace, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract poetry or abstract essay is already in fifth season. Fifth season, people, abstract essay. Abstract Poetry in second season, and Book 101 review in its fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in second season, and Food 101 in its fifth season too. Geography 101 and Love Letters are in third season, and My Baby Podcast Mental Health 101. Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Grace, do you plan to create additional resources or expand this journal series?
Absolutely, absolutely. Every time something new comes out, whether it's a new way of people being doing scans, there's a new way that women can do scans instead of doing a mammogram and things like that. Every time there's something new, I do my resources on my research on it. Make sure it's coming from a legitimate background, and then what I do is I add it into the journal. So this journal, at the moment it's 217 pages, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger because I want everyone to have the information that I'm learning. I want to spread it far and wide. So these journals are always updated, always. Yeah.
Yes, Miss Grace De Angeli, thank you so much for sharing your journal to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your journal itself?
Oh, sure, absolutely. You can buy the Breast Cancer Hero's Journey on Amazon, or if you go to gracedeangeli.com, you will find the link to purchase the journal as well.
Yes, and of course, invite our listeners to support your podcast.
Yes, sorry. Breast Cancer Heroes Journey podcast. Like I said, I actually interview anything from doctors to holistic, Western, as well as breast cancer survivors and thrivers.
Yes, and drivers indeed. The people that support Miss Grace De Angeli, because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come, more and more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself to come. So, Miss Grace, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.